Well, greetings everybody, and welcome to this week's version, edition, whatever you call it, of the Inworld Review. This is a show where we look at arts, destinations, and then moreover people from all across the hypergrid. And obviously, you might just be watching this for the first time. So I'll explain that the hypergrid is a system for virtual worlds that are built on the OpenSim platform, and it allows you to teleport between different grids and share assets between different grids. If any of you know the Second Life platform from 20 years ago or so, it's very much like that, except considerably more advanced, and it's also not a walled garden. So it's like the wild frontier of virtual worlds, and its collaboration facilities in particular outshine any other modern virtual world you can find. They just don't allow you to be in the same space, same time, and cooperation on sort of editing, things like that. Anyway, that's the general gist of it, and we can move on into the show. My name is Mal Burns, and today is the date I've forgotten again. I love it. 9th of June. That's it. And 2024. I get that right. And I'm the host of the show. On my left-hand side I'm joined by my co-host currently, and that is Tosha Tyron. Welcome, Tosha.
Hi, Mel. Hi, everybody. Glad to be here again.
Lovely. Always good to see you. Wonderful. And on my right-hand side is the person you might call my right-hand man. He's always sitting. When he's not sitting, he's fiddling with knobs, although usually doing both at the same time. The knobs in question are video and audio knobs, I hasten to add, just in case you have other ideas. Turn off your screen now, knob appearing. Sorry. Welcome, James Atlloud.
Oh, thank you, Mel. That's why I sit on the right.
I'm never going to get it. I've got to find a new way of introducing you. I've retired the knob thing, I think. Right. Okay, and we've got 3 guests with us today. They're all part of the same thing, really, so to speak. On Tosha's left-hand side, we've got Nara Nuke, sometimes known as Nara Malone, and sometimes it's known as the Nook, not the Nuke, but it's always the Nuke to me, and whoever's with Nara is a Nukette. So Nara and the Nukettes. Welcome, Nara.
Thank you, Mal. Hey, everyone. Did you guys hear me?
Okay.
I hear you.
Next to Nara, we have Dorina. Dorina Bray, isn't it? Or Bree. Welcome. Welcome, Dorina. You, of course, work with Nara and so on.
Thank you. Yes.
And your voice is now fine. And finally, on the other side, I see her standing up. Apparently, she's not. I'm sure she's not.
She's not.
This is Renee. So there we go. Yeah, Renee. Yeah, I'll get there someday. I haven't got name tags here, so I'm.
It's my Shannon. It's Shannon Albright.
Shannon. Okay, yeah, of course. Yeah, Shannon Albright. Okay, that is good. So we got Nara, we've got Grey One, and we got Shannon.
In your world, maybe, Mal. In
my world, now that is a very, very virtual world statement to make. In your world, maybe, but not mine. Of course, my world is always different from everybody else's. So much for I forget the adjective. Never mind. Okay, so we're here to sort of talk about Nara's Nook or Nara's Nuke, or well, there's 2 variants. I always say Nook, but I think you prefer Nuke, don't you, Nara?
I prefer Nook now. You prefer Nuke.
I prefer. Yeah, you prefer. You prefer Nook, and I prefer. Oh, never mind. No, you know what I mean.
Nook,
anyway.
like book Nook.
It's book, yeah, a Nook book. Yeah. Right. Okay.
He's thinking more a nuke because when we're testing things have a tendency to go nuclear.
Oh, that kind of thing. Well, actually, in England, something we would describe as a nuke is like a cubby hole, little narrow, small area. it might indeed be in a bookshop, you know, a very small enclosed area, and it's sort of like a cupboard, but not with a door. It's just a nook. I don't know. Maybe that's where I thought it was. I digress. Let's get on with the show. We apologise, by the way, to any live watchers. We're half an hour late today again. Once again, you can blame Microsoft's plug system. Plug, unplug, what's that? Right, okay. So we're going to be looking a little bit about the history of Nara's Nook and also some fairly recent stuff too. Before we do that, but everyone's here, I'm just going to give you a roundup of Thursday's Safari this week, Hypergrid Safari. They went to two places. One was a cyclone watch on the Mobius grid. Everybody had great fun learning about the scripting of these planes and everything there. And ultimately, we all got into planes and everybody happily flew around the whole sim, except for yours truly, who managed to crash at the edge of the sim and crash into the sea the second attempt. And basically, well, look, I crashed, but I fell back to earth. So great fun there. And the second blog is Safari Seas Scario, which was on the craft grid, a place called Neulab. We have been there before, I know. But this was, again, looking at sort of technology type things. And, hang on, I've got yeah, we were looking at these sort of gadgets and stuff. The scripts were sort of working. It was actually educationally, it described the whole process of what was going on here, making bread or whatever.
Making olive oil.
Yeah.
Well, no, all kinds of machines here there to make oil and to make carpets and to make all kinds of things. And it was really, really cool because the machines were like really old. You can see them here. And it
you can imagine
really
traveling.
nice.
Yeah. I like these two in the foreground here too. Yep. So what was the other one? I don't know what's in the right order. Only two of these for this week. Oh no, that's right. Today, there's posted a thing about Bloom Peters, who of course was on the show the other week, and she just they had a talk together basically, and some pictures of Bloom there. And you might, if you saw the show the other week, you'll probably recognise the sort of Toy Town feel of the place we're looking at there. We were talking about these wonderful scripted vehicles. And there's Thursday, of course, with Bloom herself. Right, okay. And I have three others this week, but these are actually to do with Nara here and Nara's Nuke. So I'll get them out of the way before we move on to the other stuff. This is from November the 3rd, 2016. So we're talking 8 years ago. And Safari went to what was described at the time as the literary grid, Nara's Nuke, celebrating 3 years then, of course, of writerly pixels. So these are the pictures, and maybe you'd like to reflect on the scenes I'm going to show now. So I just quickly go through them. I've got 18 pictures here.
I think this is when we first launched this version of Grayville. We had an older version of Grayville. Safari came to in their very first year of Safari. And it was like a garden of books where people could go into the books and teleport to different regions and learn about the authors and the stories. But this is where we built the Grayville Library and the Writers Clubhouse. And we have an information center and I think an art gallery there. And so they all came to see that. Avia Bond did the design for most of it. And the Grayville Library, Neothar Cortex built for us.
Nice. I like little touches like the step ladder there to get up onto your shelves. So that's not really a bookshelf, is it? But let's move on. Yeah.
Right. It's just a little place they could sit to read. It was a book nook. Huh? And that's the meeting room where we would have our writers group meetings where we would all work on novels and critique each other's work. Oh,
right, lovely. That's a good thing. It kind of looks like a reading room, but it's a participatory one. That's great. Yeah, there we are again. Is that meant to be Sherlock Holmes? More bookshelves. I always love places with bookshelves, as you probably know. So you always feel at home when you're in a room with bookshelves everywhere.
We're authors, so there's like a book everywhere you go in the nook. Even our water fountain, it's a book fountain.
Oh yeah, we saw that in the first picture, didn't we? I'll just quickly go back there. This is the book fountain. Love it. Right, move on here a bit. The Joker and some kind of witch, I guess. Are those NPCs, animeshes, or are they actually avatars?
There was no Animesh in 2016, so
Oh,
they're
that's
either other characters or there weren't anything that we resed, so maybe it was Halloween. I don't remember.
Oh, okay. So it's probably safari visitors dressed up for the occasion. No, dressed up quite well, I think.
Yeah.
Certainly the Joker. It looks like
Yeah.
the Joker. Okay, bit of a long shot there.
Oh, we always had a common character at the Nook birthday, so maybe everybody dressed as a character for the visit.
Ah, okay.
That was probably it.
Yeah. So awards, gosh golly. New books. Yeah. Changing of the seasons there. Winter, I think. And Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, this was a region Shannon built, so it was like a region for new authors where they could set up and have a space where they could get their feet wet with virtual.
I think the very first time I ever came to Nara's Nook, it was that was the layout. It was you basically gave all the authors you knew who came in, you gave them a space to represent themselves, and I think that was all there was to it.
This is a region Sunbeam.
Sorry.
Yeah, this picture you have up here, Sunbeam made a children's book thing. It was based on, I used to go to this place called Storybook Land when I was a kid, and she knew what I was talking about. So she made her own version of Storybook Land for virtual, because it is now, closed. It used to have like Cinderella's castle, and there was like a little tugboat, and just all the little golden book stories that you used to see. There was like an exhibit for each of those at Storybook Land.
Oh, lovely. I'm looking at those older, they were prim trees, I think. These were really common at one time in Epicene. I think nowadays people actually, gone for real trees rather than the cartoon style. But so it's odd to see.
Well, they look kind of like what you would find in a storybook, and that's why she did the region in those.
Yeah, very cartoonish. So yeah, nice. Oh, somebody's in action. I wonder if that's Star by any chance.
That was Sunbeam, I think.
Sunbeam. Oh, God, I haven't seen Sunbeam for ages. Yeah. Got a bit of movement in that. And definitely storybook here. This is something from Alice, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
The characters that has to be something to do with one of the Alice's, Wonderland or Mirror. I don't know. And Sherlock Holmes in there again. I think that's Leo Lobo on. He'll be with us in a week or two on the far left. And oh gosh, lots of interesting stuff happening there. Good architecture, though, I suppose. Right, and
this is a book birthday party. So we used to have parties whenever an author would have a book release. We would call it a book birthday party. And so I believe we had one while Safari was there. I don't know if you got it on here, but we actually made it rain men on Safari for that thing. We had like these things that were transparent kind of raindrops that had male dancers inside them.
And you know that you were playing
them on.
And you were playing
them on the studio. It's Raining Men. We were playing.
I was just going to say, you were playing It's Raining Men. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see. We've got. No, it's sort of. Right. Moving on. Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, that's. Just
those would have been the books that were released for that one.
For that time, yeah. Merlin and 100, yeah. And just a. That's interesting. A dancer with a shadow. A shadow without a dancer.
This is
Halloween.
Nevermore Lenore, so it was close to Halloween. We have our book birthday. Our grid started like a week before Halloween, so
Right.
we would always have our party a week early, and everybody would dress as a character from their favorite story. This is from Poe's Nevermore Lenore, and I forget what song we played for this, but we had like a little animated story play about that poem. Oh, I think it was A Ghost in This House. There's a Ghost in This House by Alison Krauss. So, yeah, that was our tribute to Edgar Allan Poe.
I got a lovely comic book adaptation of The Raven, which was by an artist called Richard Corbin. It's one of the best things I ever saw. Anyway, that's an aside. I go out and Poe. Now, this is later, but it's the same year, 2016. NPC Fari, this one was called. Again, another picture of the fountain, or the book fountain. And probably like many of these earlier blogs, it's
Those
pictures.
are visitors.
Yeah, visitors, no rest. This would have been, well, it was a safari visit, of course. Jessica Pixel with that strange avatar in the center, which is she still has now, although she did change it for 1 week the other week.
I remember that. And James wore hers when we
Yeah,
were all confused.
yeah, James nicked her avatar sort of thing for that week, which was rather odd.
I was the disc boy, not the disc girl. So
Yeah, and I don't know, it really played hell with the sitting, didn't it?
yep, fun though.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, can't read it. Oh, knowledge is power. Of course, a bit faint on my screen there. Yeah, suitable slogan.
This is the Nook Information Center. I made that. I used some stuff that Anya gave me to make it, but I made that building. First mesh building.
Oh no. Easy NPC, and now also, of course, you were the first people I ever came to, I think, to figure out how NPCs worked. You were quite, I don't think you were the first, but you were the kind of go-to person. I forget who she was, you knew her, but you became a sort of go-to person for demonstrating the NPCs, which, of course, I suppose the idea of bringing fiction to life was a kind of very natural interest for you to adopt.
Right. That's the whole reason I came to OpenSim was because they had NPCs. And I told all the authors that I knew, I said, hey, we can bring our stories and our characters to life in this place and let readers come and meet our characters and we can hang out with our characters, write your story here in World where you can build the world and create the characters. And, I find it useful to just sit down and have conversations with my characters when I'm working on a novel.
And something you've never been to this date been able to do in the other place. We all know what the other place is. Yeah,
That's
can't
why
do
we
it.
called it Grayville because it's that gray place where fiction and reality meet. It's the only place where fiction and reality can meet and exist together.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next slide here. Good old. Oh, is that a lion or a tiger?
Tigers, yeah.
Tiger. It's got
Because
funny.
I wrote a series of books about shapeshifters, and the
Oh yeah.
first couple were about tigers and snow leopards and stuff. So there's always tigers and various big cats roaming the nook.
Well, it looks as though it must be pretty safe because there's a couple of bars missing around the cage, and also you or somebody is standing in there with it. So,
Yeah.
but maybe it's not a real type. Maybe it's a familiar. That's what they call them
Well,
when an animal.
shapeshifters are both human and tigers, so they're not going to eat humans. That would
Oh,
be
fair enough. Let's say
cannibalism.
cannibals. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's somebody I haven't seen for a long while. I think we're in Melville in the short pants there. You can probably just about see him there. He's still around, I think. Okay, and media screen, I guess. Oh, I saw the trumpet there in the sky.
Oh, this is our NPC lab. This is the NPC lab. We're going to talk about that. We made that for Hypergrid Stories #2 for OSCC 2014.
Wow, we are getting back there,
And
aren't we?
all of those things that we have there are like the video tutorials Fuchsia did of me teaching you how to make various kinds of NPCs, like how to make tree NPCs and how to make things that aren't human or animal into NPCs, how to make animal NPCs and human NPCs, and the various, you know, just everything you could do with an NPC. Fuchsia and I worked together to make tutorial videos for. And
Great.
you see all the boxes up there on that shelf are kits that you can use for every one of those videos to do what we talked about. And all of that stuff still exists at the Nook in the region
Oh,
Paradise.
lovely.
Or no, Pandora. Pandora is the region.
We
Sorry.
it's just a couple of weeks ago. You may have seen it. We actually had Fisher on the show. She sort of came back for a special visit in on the 10th anniversary of Safari, and
Yeah. And
very interesting. A lot about her real world art too. So she's we did show some of those videos. So whether they're the ones you worked on, I don't know. So going through the archive, I realized just how many videos she made over the years before she moved on to other things. Yeah. Okay, next slide, I think. Oh, it's a close up at the same thing. So what these
Fuchsia has on one of those floating islands above this, she has a demonstration she did. It's like a little Red Riding Hood story. And
right.
there's video on the walls around it, and the story is voiced and plays as you walk through it. And there is also a kit up there that you can build something like that yourself, because there's several islands floating above that region, and every story that we told there, we called it the Geeked Out Fairy Tales. Every story we told there, we provided a kit for you to try and do your own story using the tools that we used. So it's all still
This
there.
is
It
an
can be picked up.
interesting picture actually, because it before Safari began 10 years ago, a former Linda called Pathfinder Lester had a sort of explorers club, and there was this period when he was also on Safari, and that's him in the little hat where you can't really tell, but it's got a
Yeah.
feather in it. So this is at a time when
Yeah, he was there at the very first safari to the Nook. I saw a picture of him in that one too. So
All right, this is the last picture before this slideshow moves on to another grid. So that one is attributed to your grid. I don't know where.
no, I don't think that's us. I think that's Fred. I think that's something
Oh,
Fred did.
right. So yeah, they're obviously in the wrong order. Okay, well that was the last one now. So finally, for the final safari that you got featured in is actually from November the 9th last year, 2023, just about telling tales on Nara's Nuke. And this one's kind of special because the video of this, the full length thing, it's a story you told on stage. I do believe I was a voice at the OSCC conference. But this blog comes from a visit the Safari made to your grid, and you would think you're on the OSCC conference grid, but what you did is you had an actual copy on your own grid, so you could get all the rehearsal right and everything. So to tell us.
Everything had to line up in exactly the right place for where we didn't want to res like a horse and riders on top of the audience. So we put their grid on our grid so we could make all of our stuff. When we finally moved it over to OSCC, it would work and land in the right place.
Yeah. So all this seating is occupied by safaristas, I believe we call them, as opposed to OSCC attendees. But, just in case anybody gets it wrong any day. Now, this is a great part of the story because it just started snowing all over the audience. And that's a very good example.
And I don't think you see it here, but we also had mounds of snow rising up over the audience as it started snowing. So we had a blizzard falling down on them, but we had the snow rising up over their laps.
Yeah, that was real effective.
See, so there it is. You see it there. The snow is rising up over them.
So that was
yeah, Darina and Shannon were part of this, so they can probably add what add to what I've
Oh
seen.
yeah, I
here.
remember very well that was really interesting. I mean, really well made, and the snow was fun. I
That
mean,
horse and
definitely.
2 riders is an
The
NPC
snow.
Darina made. It's 3 characters, a 3 character NPC that Darina made. And we were told that you could not do that, but she did it.
And you
Uh,
technically can't,
yeah,
but
but we
you
did it
can
anyway.
fake
We
it.
pulled it off.
What I
That's
said.
the sword fight.
Violence in the virtual world, dear me. Gamers
And
go
Darina,
away.
how many times do you think we re-choreographed that sword fight?
Oh
Oh my
yes, I
God.
bet.
At least a billion.
Oh yeah.
We worked on that thing for hours and hours, just that one little part of it. But we were driven by this vision that I had. As I said, we can make everything an NPC and we can make things happen to the audience. Like we could make the snow rise up in their laps when it starts snowing. So they feel the cold, the characters would feel. And in this part here, I said we can make the trees res and then weep leaves for the dead oak king. And, that was so cool to be able to pull that off.
That was
Yeah.
another like the horse where you couldn't have an NPC being two separate beings, but you could fake it by making one of them have a statue.
I remember this
Yeah.
because my character, I thought he was dead. Then I read the script and he came back. It was
We wrote it.
a recycling story, really, wasn't it? Anyway,
Yeah.
long view there, along with your poster on the screen.
I thought everyone did an amazing job.
Oh,
And you too,
definitely.
Mel.
You, Shannon. And thank you, Shannon. She jumped in after Safari was there. They said they had a hard time understanding which character was which. So we pulled in Shannon to voice one of the characters, and
Yeah.
Mal said he would do the Oak King for us, and we were so grateful for you guys jumping into last minute to do that for us. It really
It's
made it
fun.
much more understandable.
And it was,
It
yeah,
really
it was
did.
the sort of thing where it was actually nice to have Safari really witness a dress rehearsal, if you like. So, you were able to make tweaks.
Yeah, and they had a lot of good suggestions, and some of the things that we talked about helped us resolve some issues that we had. So, I was able to tell the people at OSCC what you all said, and they said, "Oh, that means that we have to do this, and that it'll work." So, thank you all for helping us with that.
Okay, well, finish with the slideshows, which is a good way of doing it. Well, except for one. Maybe actually before I move on to the 10-minute video I took yesterday near the end. You've also bring some slides of your own, which we've, I see the first slide's already up. Do you want to click through these and talk us through these slides?
Right.
And maybe
And
Tosha.
now I think there's a place where Darina is going to talk about, and we'll tell you when we get there. She's going to talk about what you took video of. She's going to talk about that, and then that would be a good time for you to show that. Would that work?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'll tell you what, one of you, whoever's talking,
Okay.
I mean, obviously Tosha and I may intervene or whatever, but whoever's talking could just say next slide to me, and then you can prompt me too when you want me to play the film. Yeah.
Okay. That
So
sounds good.
I'll do the first one myself. I shall say next slide, please. Click.
I hope in the end you leave a little bit of time for me, because I do have some questions too.
Oh, of course, yes.
Okay.
Do just keep the conversation going. Yes.
If you want to ask questions, as we're going through this, that's fine.
And Tosha,
Tosha,
Tosha, you've actually got a copy of the notes that go with the slides, haven't you?
Yeah, but that's not my question. My questions are different ones.
Okay.
And but no, I'll wait until you finish with the slides. Okay.
Okay.
Well,
so that first slide that we had of the lizard in front of the name of the Grayville Writers Colony, This all got started right around the time Philip Linden was first starting to conceive the ideas for Second Life. I was in college and I was about halfway through my biomedical engineering degree.
Aye.
And because biomedical engineers were such rare birds at that time, we were all hired while we were still in college. So I was like midway through it and working. So I had to take classes through what was probably the first virtual university, because we're talking the 90s. I think I was connecting to the internet with a 1200 baud modem.
Oh,
And
yes.
I would take classes through things like IRC, Internet Relay Chat, and we had bulletin boards where we communicate. And I bumped into this group on a random computer that I teleported into that was called the Rock Readers and Writers Colony. It was a community of romance writers, and it was started by a lady who had a server in her house on the dining room floor. And she would invite these famous romance writers to join us in her IRC chat and talk about what they did. You know, I got to sit in with people like Nora Roberts and Stella Cameron, who were all like the queens of romance writing. I didn't know any of that at the time, but I learned a lot from them, and they encouraged me to be a writer. I was kind of just there as tech support a lot of the time because I was a techie. But I taught everybody how to slap each other with fish in IRC, and eventually, I graduated and went on. You know, moving forward, about 10 years later, I had a published romance, believe it or not, and contracts for more. And I was looking, I was at one of the publishers' conferences, and another writer started telling me about Second Life, and they thought it would be a good way to promote books. So I went there and I thought it was interesting, but somebody there told me about OpenSim. So I came to OpenSim and I said, whoa, we can make characters here. And, and so I was telling all the other writers, you have to come to OpenSim. And this is our little fire circle in the very first Grayville writers colony, and I named it, you know, not Painted Rock, but you know, thinking of Painted Rock because the lady who ran that colony was killed in a car accident a
Oh,
couple of years after it opened. And you know, just in memory of her, I wanted to create like a readers and writers colony and have people, you know, authors in to communicate with readers and everybody just hang out. And we hung around this little virtual fireplace. And so, next slide, Mel.
there we go.
I remember that. It was our little reading area
Okay,
where we would
so
meet.
someone brought us this giant book to our little cafe where we would hang out. We had all these little computers in our cafe where we would sit and write. So they brought us this giant book, and we said, hey, we could make this into, you know, we could put our story in here, or we could put a blam gate on it. So if people walk into it, it would teleport them into a region where the story scene is built out, and we could res the NPCs, and wouldn't that be cool? So
Uh,
we put these books all over the hypergrid, and you would like pick your story, like that one I'm sitting in front of there, mine. You would walk through that. It would teleport you to a scene at the Nook, and then that scene would teleport you to a scene in OS Grid. That
ah,
would teleport you to a scene in Metro. And then we
I
had Mike
remember.
Hart's Grid. I forget what Mike Hart's Grid was called, but we had stuff. He had like a nightclub there with male dancers and stuff.
Mm.
And I know some of the books teleported you there. And we even had a region in Second Life. That was the last scene of my story. I had a region in Second Life, and we would give you a landmark to
Yeah, the
Second Life
teleport
that you
wouldn't
could
work,
go
of
to.
course.
Yeah, because you couldn't hypergrid there, but you could go there. And
You
Saran
said,
Laval from Second Life did a whole story about all of that because we included Second Life in that project.
uh,
So that was a lot of
you
fun.
mentioned you put the covers all over the web or something. How did you use a kind of slurl thing to get them from the web into the open sim, or
We put them around. We put them on just like you see here. We put them in regions around the hypergrid. Like
Oh,
I
okay.
had
Yeah,
a region in OS Grid, and I would put a book there. And when you were done with the next part of the story, you would walk through the book to the next chapter.
yeah.
The problem with that was it was the hypergrid, and people would reset their grids, and when they did it, like it would kill all of our triggers, and they would reset the grids at night. And so it was always night somewhere in the world, and these grids were all over the world. So we were constantly having to go around and reset all our triggers. And plus, every time somebody reset a grid, all of the inventory that belonged to all the other authors would migrate into my inventory. And we don't know why that happened, but I would have to go back and give everybody back their inventory every day.
That
So,
sounds like a
so
suitcase with a secret thief in it, you know?
I don't know what was going on, but the first hypergrid
Uh,
story had a lot of problems. So we come to the second hypergrid story, which you show us the next slide, I think.
I remember we've spoken a bit like this before, and it's the idea of exchanging legations. It's a bit like having an old-fashioned blog roll where you put your friends' blogs on the side of your blog, and
Yeah,
they return the
we
favor.
still
So
we
you
still
jump
had
between.
that hypergrid hopping error.
Yeah,
Yeah, we still had that hypergrid hopping error so that you had to leapfrog from one place to another. So we had to plan that out to hop between the chapters of the story to make sure you could reach the next region that the next part of the story was on. But so next time we did it, we invited authors from other grids to come to the Nook. We made one big oar, and we each had what we called a geeked out fairy tale that we told, and we would had a floating island. So this was my floating island, and you would land on my floating island and see the little books and walk through and read the books and follow the instructions the NPCs gave you. And at the end of it, you could get a prize. And right there at that knight's feet, there is a box with all of that stuff boxed up. So if you want to make your own kind of hypergrid game, you could use all my scripts and props and stuff and make your own thing.
okay.
So that's how that worked. Next slide, Al.
Nice
Now,
picture that side.
sorry.
Yeah. There we go. Oh yes, I
Okay.
remember this. Yeah.
And then our huge, super huge hypergrid story was in 2016. So for that story, we invited some 30 creators from around the world to tell a story with us. And some of the stories were located on other grids and some were located at the Nook. But it was, we all followed the story together. Like I gave everybody a plot point. I said, you're the inciting incident. Make a region that tells that part of the story. And you're the first obstacle that the hero and heroine run into. Make a region, tell that part of the story. So I handed everybody, their plot point and said, make your story. I said, you've got to be kidding. This is never going to work, but they told the most beautiful story, and it's about avatars and identity. And every time the characters would hop to a new region, their avatar, they were snatched into a virtual world through these headsets they were wearing, and they were trapped there. And every time they went to a new region, their body would change. They had no control over who they would be. I think in the third scene of the story, like the hero was a fire demon, and the heroine was a tree. So, they're supposed to be in love, but they can't even touch each other because, the fire demon touches her, she'll catch on
My,
fire.
I
So
was.
they had all these obstacles to deal with.
Yeah.
And it was like 12 chapters to the story. And yeah, people from Second Life came when we opened
Mm.
to see what we had created. And we did have some creators from Second Life there
Yeah, it's nice
to
where
work on that too.
it's nice when you get
And
that kind of
Fuchsia,
overlap. Yeah.
yeah, Fuchsia did a video of each region's playthrough, and she also put that together as a movie. And in November and December of 2024, that's going to air on Pet Love's public access TV channel.
Oh, cool.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
I think we, I think we showed a bit of it
So-
when Fisher was on the other week, but I only showed short bits.
Yeah, well,
epics.
she, I put Pet Love in touch with her, and Fuchsia said, yeah, it's fine to use Machinima.
Yeah,
And Pet
great.
Love said, well, the space in her schedule is for November and December, and so it looks like that's going to happen. And now I'm
Great.
going to pass off to Dorina now. Mal, if you want to go to the next slide.
Next slide or the
Dorina's
movie?
gonna
Oh,
take
oh
it.
no, yeah, next slide. Very okay. So come
Next
on,
slide.
Serena. Yeah, Mr. Grenier. Oh, I remember these. You had a whole load of these on the land. Yeah.
So
Right.
that started out after Immersive Edge. At one point, I wanted to see if I could tell it. It's a silly story. It's very much based on bad sci-fi B movies. That is kind of one of my hidden pleasures. But mainly, it was developed. I created this character based off a song that my husband had made, and I made a story out of it. And then I think it was
Rattlesnake
around
Alien.
2018 or so that Nara wanted to push me into another realm, as she often does. And and she convinced me to try to make my own video game. And so I actually took that story that I had made in OpenSim and filmed it, and using and entered it after figuring out how to make a video game. Entered it into a game jam on Itch.io, which I think it's still there to play, and I called that one Mr. Gray and Island Invasion. So that was fun, and you can change to the next. And then
I wanted a hero.
back in, I want to say it was 2020. Was that 2021 or 2022, Nara?
2022.
That we entered a GameDev.tv game jam, also on Itch.io. And that was called Find the Hero, and that was based off of a story that Nora had written. And let's see, who all was in that? There was Nora and Neo and Sheep and Shannon. And they were over about 1,000 game submissions. They actually stayed in the top 3 of that jam's most played games. So that was pretty great. And those characters from that game were featured in the OSCC 2022 talk that we gave.
Right. Okay.
And then I guess next.
Oh, now
And
this
then
is a little familiar.
that might be actually, instead of that one,
This
this
is
might be where you want to play
Mal could do
the
his
video.
game.
Sorry, now.
Yeah, you might want to play the video for this.
This is where you can play your video, Mal.
Okay.
The
Right.
Your
Galaxia
video of Galaxia.
region.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, there it is. Okay, so yeah, this is the link. We don't actually been on the nuke. I didn't film there. You just teleported me over here, and this is basically what it looked like. Pardon me. Some of the resin and stuff I'm demonstrating as I'm filming. You'll get the idea anyway. So yeah. There we go. It's all starting to move. It's obviously silent, so you'll have to talk us over it.
Do you want me to talk over it, or you just want to watch it first?
No, talk over it. I think there's no sound on it.
Okay.
So that is
Well,
done
this was
deliberately.
this was a prototype we did because we were trying to see whether we could actually create a whole story in OpenSim using the sequencer with everything being in PCs. So this prototype, which was a lot easier to, and I think it was based on a Unity tutorial. And we were trying to see if the sequencer could be used as easily as Unity's timeline.
Got you.
So yeah, it's all about touching a book and then the story appears.
Yeah, for this, of course, you sent me to, you've got 3 different platforms up there. And basically, when I put my avatar up here with the camera, what I did is I clicked on the book. Whether it's obvious, I don't know. But my acting on the book is what resulted in what Res is next. So it's just technical notes there. Here we are. I'm approaching it now. Away we
Yeah, I saw
go.
you click the book.
Yeah.
So all those buildings
Instant
are
City, eh?
NPCs.
Yeah. Yeah, the actual buildings and stuff, everything here, as well as the characters that come in a minute, are NPC, aren't they? So, Instant City.
Oh yeah, Nara made the robot men at Blender.
I guess that linked to the robot man statue downstairs on the island below. Yeah. Or is that just coincidence?
Yeah.
I think that was the same.
The robot man on the island down below was my first try. I hadn't rigged it yet. But these guys I made a little smaller and rigged. So I was just learning to use Blender. It's like I learned to make that little book stand in book in Blender and all that.
Oh, I don't know what happened there, but
Figured out how to dance.
somehow something happened.
Yeah, you just must have stumbled onto the dance ball they haven't had there.
I thought you did that on
That's
purpose.
pretty cool.
No, I didn't know. I wonder what was happening. I obviously found my way off it again, as you can see. Very funny. And that was so quick. The moment you click the book again, everything vanishes and a blink and you miss it, kind of thing. You know. So
It's such a powerful tool. You can click a book and make a story happen in front of people.
Yeah.
So we really need to take advantage of that.
This is the next layer up again. So this is yet another variation on the same theme. So yeah, there I'm going clicking it.
It really is quite brilliant, I must say.
It's not so obvious here, but on this level, the first thing that Res was actually a backdrop, and then the buildings, and then of course the NPC characters as well later on. The NPC characters got better as I went up, kind of thing.
Darina, is this yours or is it Siobhan's?
Oh, this is mine.
Yeah, here we are. We got to.
With my crazy guys.
Like third Beckhausen, doesn't it? Very strange characters there. The stick man with a hat and
yeah, some of Darina's characters.
Yeah. The ogre that likes to dance.
Yeah, I didn't get roped into that dance. I think I had my camera far enough away to escape. That was odd. It's just a globe inside a prim, I guess. That NPC.
Yeah.
It looked pretty, but I don't know if it had any meaning or interaction.
Yeah, it was
no,
mainly
this was
just
completely a prototype.
It was a proof of concept.
Yeah.
It was proof of concept. If we could make a story spring out of a book, just this little city, that we could pull off what we were dreaming of for OpenSim. It's like we did this much in February or March, and it took us the rest of the year to do the OSCC thing. Darina was homeless.
Yeah, this was
she wouldn't tell you that. Darina was homeless because a storm put a tree through her house, and she was working on this, living in a rental place out of boxes while she was waiting for her house to be repaired. And it was like a horrible summer, the worst heat ever, and the air conditioning was broken, and she was still working on this stuff with us. So she was a real champ through all that.
Yeah,
this is Siobhan's. There's actually characters inside a dance floor here, which I'm pretty sure you didn't discover, but if you could have sat on it and rested all these space people and danced
Oh,
around.
right. Yeah. Yeah, I actually was just in camera mode. I just zoomed in so that I could click on the book, but I didn't. Um, I might have accidentally clicked some. Oh, well, hang on. I've got some characters here. Are these ones you mean? I think they just
Yeah,
said
there you go.
once the
So
Oh
building
yeah,
yeah.
once the building had finished,
Were
yeah,
then
those Ready Player Me
these
characters?
these two are lovely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That blonde is a Ready
Yeah.
Player Me character. The
Who's
other
the?
one is something Cherry Manga made.
I wondered.
Cherry
Oh
Manga's
yeah.
avatar, the red one, the poison
What I
avatar, I
like,
think it's called.
what I like, she's got this kind of she's drawing with light in the space around her, isn't
Yeah,
it? That's
Yeah.
a really cool
yeah,
thing.
that's really cool.
I had a 3D pen in Second Life once that did something like that, but not so
It
animated.
is
It
neat.
was clunky. Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah. As usual, cherry takes the cake, so to speak. Yeah, wonderful there. I've got a bit more to go. So this basically is a prototype, really. For is this? Would you say this is your main thing now? Is to actually create books or read whole
Well,
stories?
this was the prototype for the Yule Tale that we did in Open Sim.
Oh right. Oh, you
Um,
did it this way as
yeah,
opposed. Okay.
because we wanted to see whether we could even have that many NPCs in one place and things like buildings that you wouldn't normally think of as an NPC, which non-human, non-animal characters, a tree and a building,
Yeah, like that boat down there is an
a snow
NPC.
drift.
Yes,
So
back to the boat there. Yeah. I found it fascinating the boat. You know, because when I arrived here, the first thing you told me is that boat is an NPC. You know, so you can imagine it's going to start walking
That's
and
how we
talking.
make it rock in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted it to rock in the water, so we just put an animation in the
Do you know?
on the NPC skeleton, and then attached the boat to the NPC and made the NPC
You
itself
could
invisible.
you could sort of have you could actually if it's an NPC, it could actually behave like a character. So you can have a story of a man in a boat that talk to each other, couldn't you? Because
Right,
yeah,
right, like that Hemingway story, The Old
yeah,
Man
yeah,
and the Sea.
I'm,
You could
I'm,
do that with all NPCs. Just put his book up there, and I
yeah,
don't know if that's public domain yet, but
could well be.
when it is, you could
But,
do that.
yeah, probably not going to complain for Open Sim anyway.
Future OSCC project. Write that
Yeah,
down.
nice. But that's the end of the film. It was unfortunately short, but we had plenty of others to go on.
Okay.
Do you want? I
Do we have
know,
any
yeah,
people?
I guess
I know Tosha has some questions ready. Do you want to do that bit
Yeah, yeah,
before we go on with the final slides?
yeah. Well, the same. It depends on how you feel about it. What I wanted to know, yeah, excuse me, it came a little closer now. Yet, um, what you showed, I think it's really, really very amazing what you do, and it is like a dream. You know, you read a book and you live it. You really can touch the things that you read, and I think that's fascinating. But it looks to me like a huge amount of work
Mm.
that you and time that you invest there. How can you do you do something like that also in your real life, if you want to say that or not? um how can you spare so much time?
Good question.
that is a
You
good
just
Who takes it first?
multitask a lot.
It's called delegate.
Okay.
It's
Notice we ask a lot of people all the time to join us on these projects, so that helps too.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we're authors and in the real world, and so some of this is part of this story building to help us tell our stories that we're writing. and Darina and Shannon are both artists as well. So, all of these things have multiple uses, not just as something we play
Okay.
with in world.
So, do you live off your being authors and maybe journalists too in real life, or is it more
Uh,
like a hungry
Originally, when
job?
I first, and I think this is probably true for just Shannon too, when we originally started writing back in 2009, 2010, um, you could, books were worth enough money that you could live off the earnings. But
Mm,
now you can't sell books for as much, and there's like billions of books to compete with on places like the Amazon Marketplace.
Yeah.
And so you
mm,
just can't really. And I've always kept my hand in the tech industry. I do IT work through the week, and I also do the writing and the game development and stuff. We're hoping game development will pay a little bit better than book writing, but not yet.
mm.
To what extent? This is a completely off the cuff question, a very quick answer to. Um, to what extent do you think that people merchandise things these days? The product is all kind of thing, and you're getting the film and the TV and the book and it's always existed, but not to the extent it is, especially with the online things now. Do you think that? I mean, there's obviously questions as to whether marketing things as a product is taking away from the art side of it. But do you think do you think that is a good thing? For example, an author can write a story, then there can be a comic book, then there can be a TV series, then there can be a movie, then there can be a game, and presumably, if you get all of those in one parcel, you do make money. But do you think that's a good thing, or do you think it was better when things had their own niche, as it were?
I think
I
it's a
think
good thing. I
it's
like to do a lot of things.
it's lightning in a
What do
bottle
you
if
think,
you're able
Trina?
to get all of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
What do you
And
think?
I mean
What
about
do you think, Darina?
What do I think?
Because Darina does
I think
games.
it depends
Darina
on the
does games,
story.
and
Some stories work really well in one format and won't work well in another.
True.
So it would be
yeah,
dependent on the story.
true.
I
Some
think
work well with multiple
if the story is
inside.
worth it, it's also worth to be made a movie out of it or a game or whatever. But it is true, out of I don't know millions of authors, there may be one that hits the jackpot. So
Yeah, you never
it
know
Yeah.
is
when and what.
that's what I say. Writing is a hungry job. You just
It
Yeah,
is.
you cannot
that's
really
why I
live
keep
so
my
well
hand
on
in the
it.
tech.
Mm.
Yeah.
And the other thing that would interest me is why do you do mainly? Well, this is for nada. Why do you do mostly the romantic type of books or stories? They're more like short stories,
Because,
huh?
um, well, typically I do romance shapeshifter fiction, and my whole reason for going into that was because I used to work at the National Institutes of Health and would see the experiments they did on the animals and stuff. And
Oh.
it was
Mm,
just so heartbreaking
Uh-huh.
that
yeah.
I thought that
Mm,
if I wrote these stories where I'm talking about these hybrid, which they were making at the time, they were making like humanized animals. And, the idea of making those humanized animals is that you will be able to use their organs and things for transplant, like they're doing now with pigs
yeah,
and
it's
humanized
really
pigs.
horrible. Mm,
And so I thought people really needed to think about what it means when you mix humans with animals and what what the beings that result from that are they sentient or not, and really stop and think about where technology is taking us. So
mm,
the shapeshifter fiction I write is romantic shapeshifter fiction because I feel that's a female audience, and I think this would be something that would appeal to the female audience. And it's also a really big seller. I mean, romance sells more than all of the other genres put together.
Mhm.
Things that everybody likes to admit they read, like science fiction or literary fiction, are way, way down at the bottom of sales. And
After the Mills and Brune
Mhm.
world, you know,
but
I remember
especially,
it's always been the biggest, hasn't it?
yeah.
Yep,
No,
always
So
it
has been.
really
that that
How
gives
about
me a wider
stories?
audience to speak to.
it really struck me a little strange because I'm not at all a romance writing lover or fan, you know. And so I thought
Yeah,
somebody that I consider a very intelligent, very integer person, and she goes and writes romance.
Oh,
I'm,
well, that is
chasing the
that's a
money, the money.
stereotype that that's a stereotype that there is about romance writers. And if you take the romance writers we've had, like the very first founders of the Nook, I was a biomedical engineer. Siobhan was an archaeologist. Tina was a paralegal. You know,
mm,
none of these were stupid people.
mm,
And there is that stereotype that romance writers are lightweights intellectually. They're not smart. You know, their books wouldn't be something you want to read, and people don't actually read the books to find out. But
Well,
I
yeah,
think if
it's
you
this is so
you might be absolutely right on that. I don't deny it, but it just struck me like that strange because I'm not a fan of romance writing, and I'm not a or reading well, and I'm not a particularly romantic person myself either.
yeah.
So that
I think
maybe
it's
Well,
that
the
has
thing
to
I
do
love
with it.
about it is that you always get that happy ending. Isn't that right, Shannon? It's a
Oh,
promise
good
that if
Lord,
you pick up
yes.
a romance book, you're not going to fall in love with all these wonderful characters the author created and then get to the end of it and everybody dies. I hate that. That's what I hate about literary fiction. I love the writing style. I love the characterization. And we get to end and everybody
and
dies or
something
winds up
something
Yeah,
in an
it's
asylum or something.
something I've noticed in novels, some real classic novels and things, historical novels and things, is that the a romance tends to be in a central focus in some of those really great novels. Um, you know,
Right.
so it's not just you wouldn't even think of them necessarily as romantic fiction, but Outlander and all those sort of things. You know, it's
That's
they're
a
romance stories.
romance.
Yeah,
Outlander was a romance novelist. The
yeah,
novelist who wrote that wrote Outlander as a romance.
yeah,
And
exactly.
that's what
Even
romance fiction is. It's a little bit gorier than I like my romance, but yeah.
Mm.
now. I like that gore.
I have
I
another.
believe you gotta have that in there.
I have
That
another.
whole bathing in blood thing, not for me.
Bit much. I have another interesting question. This came out of what you were just saying because I'm very, you know, support PETA, you know, against animal cruelties and this sort of thing. To what extent do you, I mean, the shapeshifter thing you mentioned is sort of part of it, but to what extent do you think media, books, you know, where there's an empathy between the reader and, say, animal characters, you know, like kids watching cartoons, especially when they're very photorealistic these days, do you think that these portrayals in fiction and the media that goes with it, that kind of empathy between human and animal can be a good thing for the future? Sort of, you know, if a young person grows up and they develop an empathy with particular animals and things, then are they more likely to be an activist against animal cruelty or even use of animals in any way? You
I
know,
think so. I think so. And that's my hope in writing this stuff. And Shannon writes shapeshifter fiction too, right, Shannon?
Mm.
Yes, I do. I very strongly. I love all animals,
yeah,
and it's always been something that it's like almost like educating those, that animals have feelings too.
yeah.
It's like you should know this already, but many people don't even think about it. you know, oh, I'm allergic. Well, animals can be allergic to you too.
Yeah, like, quite. I think they're more likely to be
Of
allergic
course,
to us.
of course.
But
I think that's why there's no aliens visiting Earth. They're allergic to us.
right.
But the one look at us and think, oh, well, I'm not going down there.
And
Yeah.
I actually think it's been one of the, I don't know if you're Christians or religious or anything. I don't want to, hurt your feelings if you are, but I think it was one of the most horrible things um that the Bible has said to us, to make, I don't know the English word for it now, damn it all. Um to
Sacrifice?
rule all the world, to make,
Oh, right.
you know,
Yeah, that man
over
loves to,
all the world and all
Oh,
the animals.
Dominion.
That is so,
yeah.
Yeah, Dominion.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is such a terrible thing, and that made our lives, all the life of all humanity, go in such a wrong direction, because we're
Agree. Yeah.
not better at all, not better than a louse, not better than a mouse, not better than a cat or
I
a
think
dog
it was
or a
meant to
horse or
be like
whatever.
that. I think it was meant to be that we were the caretakers, that we had to care for all
Yeah,
things. This is the way I look at it.
yeah.
We have
But
to be the caretakers of the
but the
world.
things
Yeah.
It's just
things
living in
have
harmony.
definitely gone a wrong way.
I think
And
it's
And
just
so
some people have.
living. I
Because
think it's
there's always going to be people that want to rule.
I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
living in
Humans.
living in harmony with the planet, basically, and
Yes.
Right.
it's not a matter of gods and things. All religions sort of, however mild they are, have this doctrine and things, and that comes from indoctrinate. They all want their uh, to be leaders of a cult and have following, have a big, have a small. It's sort of you do what I say. You're very authoritarian and sort of, especially when you got hard times, the religions all boom, boom, because they say come to our worship place and forget your worries and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And they're all as bad as each other. They basically turn humans into robots, and it does mean we, if you're worshiping some kind of deity or something like that, if somebody says, "Oh, I'm sure the deity didn't mean cats to coexist with us," you probably
but
get half
but
the world would say, kill the cats. It's
Well,
awful,
the
really.
stories in
fortunately,
themselves are such a good way to reach out to the world and make them look at things. Like you can think of things like Grapes of Wrath, or
Mm,
what are some other stories that really have such an impact on readers that they make changes in the world and try and do away with some of the indignities that we do to each other, as well as the creatures we share this planet with. And as storytellers, all the members of the Nook have always been devoted to what kind of stories we can tell that can make a difference. Even that Yule tale that we were going to talk about up there, that had to do with the whole changing of the seasons and the
mm,
time change that everybody fights about. Nobody likes the time changing every spring and fall,
yeah.
but they get stuck in this argument. Are we going to add the hour to the beginning of the day or the end of the day? And I'm like, why can't you
I
just
think
split the hour in half and add 30 minutes to each end and be done with it already?
that's a good cue
So
for us to go. I think that's a good cue for us to go back to the slideshow there, because that actually is about the story with the seasons, isn't it? We're on where we've paused. So should we finish
right.
that before it gets too late?
Yeah, Darina's going there.
Right.
We're almost done, Darina, and then Shannon's going to
Yeah.
say a couple things about what's future stuff, and we'll
Yeah,
be done.
lovely. Okay, so we're on the sword fight there anyway for the moment.
Yeah. As far as what I had to say with the Yule tale was I think I already said it really about how the prototype that you saw in the video
Yeah.
is what made us be able to really experiment and create a story using NPCs and getting it timed and just creating an experience. The only thing that we weren't able to do was have the audio recorded as well, because it's just not, I don't think that's capable here.
Mm.
Yeah, audio creates too much lag.
Yeah.
But I really love the idea, to make books touchable. I mean, not only touchable as books, but the
You
stories.
can walk around
touchable.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
We
what's your
did,
favorite character kind of feeling?
We did manage at the Hypergrid International Expos, Tosha knows, we, not totally, but we managed to overcome a lot of the audio lag by literally, putting all the broadcast and recording into Discord. And we had a little pipe that actually brought other sound into Discord too. And obviously the old thing of in-world sound being about 20 seconds behind, you can't get away from. But if everything important is being done on audio, you can get pretty close. I think obviously
But
you
it
did
has to
really
be
have it.
live that way, right? You can't just
Yeah,
have
well,
somebody
pre-recorded, it's a cinch because nobody cares whether there's any lag because you take care of that while you're recording. But no, I mean, in world it's a bit different. But if somebody, if they're having a sword fight, for example, and it lasts for maybe 50 seconds, there is a point where it's happening, on audio and in world too, and people adjust to it. But there are ways and means, but it's just a sort of technical thing, But certainly, I think what you're doing there. Especially if you're going to film it and sort of keep it for posterity. I mean, it will be, it'd be perfectly easy to find ways of actually recording audio, maybe using Discord or something to actually blend with it. And you can always take things the other way round. You can always say, right, well, if I pipe audio in world, it's going to be 20 seconds behind. It's going to be out of sync. But if you think, well, use the sound on Discord and pipe the video so that it's in sync with the sound instead of the other way around, then, there are ways you can get around that, especially if you're going to record it as film or something.
Yeah, but if you make the books and this great way to show it all with NPCs and that you can walk right into the story. If you make that into a video again, you make the distance again. That's the same as just reading.
True. That's true.
And I was thinking more so too, like just having that, whether it be a book that somebody touches, but they come visit your land and they click on the book and the whole thing appears around them.
We can make the text of the story come up in the scene, just like you were typing
Yeah.
text in chat. So
You
you
can
can see
also-
the characters tell each other that, have their dialogues right while you're in
Yeah,
it.
they can still read it, they just can't hear it.
If it's an actual story, right, and designed to be in world, an in-world experience, you can always embed the dialogue lines in objects and things in world.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in Second Life, that was done a lot, where you'd actually have different sound effects, and as you move from the water to the beach to the grasslands to the forest, the sound effects would change. And some people did that with dialogue too. Just like, I actually think one of the fun things about all this is there's so many different ways you can approach different things, and you can just do so much with the environment that you just can't do in real life, actually. So, anyway, moving on to the slides again. I don't know how much.
Yeah, I guess this one's good. So this, so right after we did the immersive edge, we started working on a submission for a game, and it's we were doing a submission for games for empathy. We were talking about empathy earlier.
Yeah.
And they were having a contest, and so we were developing our game, and we got turned down because we didn't have a big enough portfolio of completed projects, and that they really wanted that, because there was quite a nice award for winning that. So they wanted to make sure that you actually had the skills, I guess, or the background. So the Bio Tomorrow project is the game we submitted, and we did a rapid prototype of it. And it got sidelined by real life and the pandemic for a while.
I wonder
And
that,
we've come back full around, and we're working on that again. So that's been a pleasure to open that back up and start digging through. And another, I guess the next one.
Yeah. By the way, if you hear a wolf howling in a minute, that is James telling us we're on the nearing the end.
Oh, okay. So the
So
Storyteller
with
Castle, which
Shannon
is
now.
that one, is another project that we're currently building on, and that's where we started our production company, Next Dimension Tales. So we're gonna go under that name.
Next time,
and that's it. Next to Shannon.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Starting with this
Oh.
one, yeah. Shannon.
You there,
Voice,
Shannon?
hello, it's me.
Yes, hello, it's you. You're here.
Yes, I
You're
am.
really here.
Yeah, I can hear. Basically, this is where we are heading in the future. As you can see, I do an awful lot of still fashion. This is my Flickr account that shows fashion from Second Life. I have a thriving business in Second Life with my store, with Marketplace, and Flickr.
Right.
What I wish to do, what I am doing, is bringing original mesh in. And I have plans on doing original mesh for the Ruth and the Roth.
Oh, wow.
And also want to be able to put pre-made avatars with different options for clothing. Also, for
wonderful.
OpenSim.
It's really something that's missing in OpenSim.
I know. It's been a pet peeve of mine for a long time when it comes to the men. I would love to be able to offer that to them. And so that is one of the things that I'm currently in process of working on, looking to get the Roth and the Ruth days and doing what I need to do in order to bring in original clothing mesh for OpenSim. And right now I still have available all my legacy clothing through, where is it now, Nara? Paradise?
It's in the Paradise region, right? She's got
Paradise
several
region.
shops. You can get mesh hair, mesh clothes, for men and women. She's got a shop in Coca that's all formal wear for men and women. So,
which will be
it's,
updated with much better things instead of mostly, well, better stuff. But you have to
yeah,
wait
I
until
think
I
there's
get it
full
done.
But he's also
avatars
worked
or
with
something.
with some Bento. Or Bento, whatever it's called.
yeah.
I mean, my avatar is
Bento?
Bento, I think I am. You know, it's
Well,
It's wearing
the
this
Bento,
right now.
as far as Bento, I don't do animations, so I don't.
no, it's not an
That's
animation thing. My my actual avatar is a mesh avatar, and
It's a
you know,
Bento
it's
mesh?
called a Bento, yeah, and it comes with. I've got HUDs where I can change textures and clothing and things like
Yes,
that.
Yeah, but the
that's
most,
what you'll have with me.
I think the most important thing about that is I've been trying to make avatars for, I mean, I don't make them from scratch using what I find, like Ruth or Roth, making them for craft, for starters, for newcomers. And
Well, the thing is, for newcomers, what needs to be done is they need to have some kind of tutorial in order to know how to handle the HUDs.
the thing, well, yeah, that may be, but the thing about it, they can also have some clothes without HUDs. The thing about it is if you have a bento mash avatar and one that is bomb, bacon mash,
Yeah.
that is fantastic. You just click and it
Yeah.
just fits, but the
I know.
clothes have to be apt for it, they have to be made for it.
Yeah.
And of
Yes.
course the avatar has to be um a bento bomb capable,
Okay.
avatar. And then it is really easy for everyone, and I'm not, for example, I'm not one that likes to play around so much with the avatar and change clothes and do this and do that.
Same here.
Most
But
Yeah.
men don't.
while most
Most
men
men
don't
don't.
have a chance because they almost don't find different clothes.
Well,
True.
yeah, but I do know that they have a tendency with Second Life that they will do a binge. I once a year I get a run
Yeah,
on every single male item I have at the store in Second Life,
yeah,
and then I
that's
don't
true.
see him again until next year.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm flicking through these slides rather quickly at the moment. So, oh,
Um,
no.
and then in order to segue into the next piece with what we're doing in our future, me and Nara are in the process of, well, I'm developing a graphic novel that's going to be done in volumes,
Uh-huh.
Right.
and
My
she's
cup of
going to be
tea.
helping me with this, huh?
I said that's my cup of tea, graphic novels. I mean, they're
And
comical.
it also ties into what we were speaking about earlier, because my main character is human. She comes into a world where there escaped science experiments of animal and human
Oh yeah,
that
that
have
is one.
escaped
I don't know if you know
humans.
that is one of my favorite um books that I read, well, quite a few years ago, and I think it was a Danish man who wrote it, and it's called The Ape. I don't know if you
Yep.
know that.
I
Oh,
That
think,
no.
was
no, I don't know.
I didn't like the end of it because it was a little overdrawn. But the whole thing I found it very touching. That was, for example, one romance story that I really liked. I found it very touching and also funny of this woman that in the end freed this ape that was she let them escape from some science experiments, and then she went away with him. She left her husband, her human husband, and she went with the ape. And that was really
Okay.
interesting and really funny. So like he would carry her around and would um they would chase him, but he would go very high in the on the rooftops and from balcony to balcony, and there nobody would look, so they didn't even see them. They wouldn't find them. And it was a really nice book. It's a long time ago that I read it. And
You, right, I'm trying to hurry us up a little bit here because of time, but I
Yes.
noticed
Well,
we're on slide 14 and you mentioned a graphic novel, but you also mentioned a picture book for autistic toddlers. Is that the
yes.
same thing or
That was the
separate?
prior slide. That was the prior slide.
Oh, right.
That was a project of mine that I was working
Oh,
on.
yes, here we are. Right, yeah.
So the idea here is autistic children, they're always trying to get them to make eye contact. So
Right.
all the characters in all the pictures in the book have compelling eyes for the animals. And Shannon was helping me with that shit. And the other thing is that they have a really hard time settling their brains down to go to sleep. I mean, the parents ask doctors for drugs to try and get the kids to sleep because
Yeah.
their minds are just so busy that they won't settle down to sleep. So the progression of the images in the book are more dreamlike with every time you turn the page. And it's like I've been writing and illustrating it, and Shannon and Darina have been offering critique, make this character a little less scary and make these
You
eyes a little
say
bigger, that kind of thing.
you say more dreamlike as people turn the page. Do you mean it's like it moves into a dream world the further you move into the story and
Right,
page?
right.
Right, yeah,
And
okay.
when
I'm
you
with you.
finally get to the end of the story, you see the baby in bed sleeping with her little stuffed animals. So,
Right,
yeah, you get to that. But that's
right.
what that was about. And the next slide is Shannon's going to talk about.
I am.
Okay.
This
So,
is
wow.
Doreena's.
Yeah,
This is
Gallery show.
Doreena's, which is very awesome. She's been putting together a collection of her photography in a gallery show in Mississippi for Alabama art casting. I want to make sure to woohoo for her on that.
And this is this is 3D art from OpenSim.
Yes, from
Yeah.
OpenSim. This is
I'm
go ahead. You've done this. You know what you're talking about, Dorina, when it comes to this casting.
Serena, you
Oh,
explain it.
this is from a iron pour, an iron casting event where it's a way to make metal art out of iron. But anyway, I love taking pictures, and I was asked to do the photography for this group. And I just love it because the fire is always doing interesting things.
Yeah.
And this one, I have a hard time just doing straight photography. Every time I get something into Photoshop, I end up messing with it and turning it into something else. I can't help myself. I just love it. And so this one, I ended up creating a fire elemental out of the fire that comes out of it.
That looks quite impressive.
And then
And that one got, oh, there it goes. Like, wow, that's really blurry. I don't remember that.
taking a while to come
But
in.
there it is. That is basically a propane torch heating the inside of the ladle that is used to grab the iron once it's been heated enough so that it can be poured into the art molds.
Mm.
And they look just
So I
like the
just
most
made it
beautiful
a little more
So
dreamed
abstract
up.
art.
the exhibitions, basically these are pictures, processed photographs, and things on the wall, or do you actually have any installation? Do you take a computer along to the exhibition, for example, so people can see what it's like in the in-world environment too? Or is it strictly speaking on the wall?
This is going to be part of the installation. The other installation will be, because we've done different video pieces. I want to try my hand at creating a very small kind of mini game in Unity,
Yeah.
where you kind of get to be a character and learn how, oh, well, we need to take a sledgehammer to these iron pieces to make them smaller. And, how to actually create these events.
So like an iron pour
Okay.
game.
Yeah, an iron pour event where and
Oh.
and for this, I mean, of course, you think iron pours and you think the great big huge industrial mammoths of the late 1800s, but that laid railroad tracks, but it's also become an art form.
Okay. Well, normally the wolf, the dog, is getting hungry by now, but crying out to be fed. But yeah, there he is. I knew he was around somewhere.
Oh,
Bang on the heart. He's giving us 15 extra minutes today.
how big is that dog?
Bus. Yeah, well, we're not allowed to do the show when he needs feeding, so that's the cue. We're doing a bit of storytelling on this show too. Whenever the wolf arrives and howls, it needs feeding and we got to go. That's that. But talking to James, who's not the wolf himself, of course.
But
James, have you got any questions as well? Yeah, I'll come to you, Tosha, in a minute.
I want to say one last thing, really. That is,
Yeah, Tosha, then. Yeah.
I think what you're doing, all your work, I've been watching on and off what you've been doing in OpenSim, really amazing and really wonderful. But the most astonishing thing, I think, that you learned something in real life, and with that, what you learned, you came into Second Life, OpenSim, whatever, and then you kept on more or less along the same line. You learned more and more, and then you go back with what you achieved here in OpenSim and take it back into real life, into an exposition or whatever. And I think that is really amazing. And I really congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And James, but it's been very quiet, of course. Any questions from you, James? I sort of neglected to switch to you at any point there.
Yeah, no problem. No, I wish I could sit here and say, oh, I know how you do everything. And I really don't. It's very cool. The skills and talents with software and tools and design you've put together are very impressive.
Yeah,
and
wonderful.
really enjoyable. Yeah, I really like it.
Thank you.
And we've done our job.
That's right.
Yeah.
Another world to
So-
conquer.
Ladies, any final thoughts before I kick you out? Anything you haven't covered that you want to get in? I'll probably throw that to Nara, who's probably got more of an idea of what you've done and haven't done. Anything we've
Well-
missed happening now or anything?
No, I think we've talked a long time and covered a
Yeah.
lot of, projects to come and projects in process. And we really enjoy being on your show. I know we've been here, I think, almost every year since we started an OpenSim.
You've said been here a couple of
That's
times.
great. That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah,
And we
always
really
something new
appreciate
as well.
you always working with, when we do a OSCC now, you're always our moderator of choice. So thank
Yeah.
you for all of the
And you've made me act
Oh,
too. I've got to be an
that's
actor too, dear me. Yeah.
And you did good.
You are welcome. You are welcome, so to speak. Okay, well, it's absolutely great having you here, but we're going to need to wrap it up now. So I'd like to thank our guests, Nara Malone, Dorina, Shannon
Bree.
Albright, and Dorina Bree.
Yes.
All three of you, thank you. You can say thank you in harmony there if you like. You can do the new case bit. Ah!
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, thanks to James Atlloud for the knob fiddling and all the pictures you may have been watching on YouTube, or you may be watching on YouTube later, or who knows, but doing it all, getting it all together. Good stuff from James. Thank you, James.
You're very welcome, Mel.
And of course, where would I be without my present co-host, Tosha Tyran? Thank you, Tosha, for everything.
Yay.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Very welcome. It's always enjoyable
Thank
to
you,
be
Todd.
here.
Yeah, it's the weekly NASA shop that we can't live without. Something like that, anyway. Okay, folks, well, that's it. I'd like to wish you all a very good morning, a very good afternoon, a very good evening, or indeed a good tomorrow, depending on wherever and whenever you are. And with that, it's a wrap. Bye for now.